this is the only dimension we can come to in a physical body and actually use our senses to learn. So all 5 of our senses only come because we've got this flesh and body and bone physical body. And we get to come out here and touch and feel and smell and play. When we go to other dimensions, we don't have that going on. We may not even have a body. It's a light body. Mm-hmm. So in order to really enjoy planet Earth, we got to come in this body, but it's a 3D planet. She's not, in esoteric studies, she's not sacred yet. I don't want to say that she isn't beautiful and sacred to me. She is, and I want to be here to take care of her, but I understand on a higher level, she is not sacred yet because she's not working in a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th dimension up to 13 dimensions like a lot of other planets.
What is the definition of sacred mean in that sense? Like she's not, or she's just like not,
she's not yet into
astral or something, or yeah, okay, yeah,
not in the 5th dimension yet. So, and I see planet Earth as a living entity, as you do, a consciousness that is on her own path of evolution. She is done with 3D. She is moving closer and closer to the central sun. She's being bombarded by photons, which is going to change her into a 4th dimensional planet. She's moving. If we don't move with her, we're just going to pass on.
I heard the analogy recently and I liked it, but it was like she's a cell that's about to divide. You know?
Yeah. 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 I can certainly see that. So, I'm just on her back. I'm like a little flea.
Right? A little parasite going like, hey.
A little parasite going along for the ride. But I want to be helpful. I'd rather be a rose rather than a flea on her back. And I'd like to be able to evolve along with her. And it certainly is, it's something we all have to do together for it to work.
So I don't know, like, how do you like physically see yourself manifesting helping? Because sometimes I struggle with that. I'm like, I don't know what, like, how do I help? Yeah, exactly.
I think the simplest and easiest solution is to not be part of the problem, because it's easier to define what the problem is than trying to define something that is not yet here in our reality. We don't really know what it is. It's like dying, physically dying, and where are we going to go after that? That's a lot of hypotheses. It could be heaven, it could be the Bardo. All we know is that it's a theory or a concept as to where we're going, but we don't really know. So when we look at our own evolution, I don't know because I can't pull all the memories back. What I do feel like I know through my own personal experience is that, I chose to come back here at this time. I know that. I know I came back to planet Earth in 3D. I know that, and I know why I did that, and I know why I came back at this time. So some things I feel like I do know on a very deep cellular level, and I've lived them most of my life, and it's been the right decision. So that part I do know. And I know I'm part of the problem when I don't respect myself, number one, when I don't respect others, when I don't respect the planet. I am then part of the problem of this 3D world. I know I'm part of the problem if I polarize all the way over to one side and I can't see anything right about what the other side is doing. I'm now part of that problem. I know I have to find a middle on almost everything, because I know that how I feel and believe is not big out there in the world. It's part of that, the 1% of us that understand some of the esoteric reasons as to what's going on and why are we here. That's a small group of us. So I feel like I'm up against the wall with so many people, so many times, and I have to be careful about how I express myself. I'm not going to lie anymore. If anybody tells me well, what do you think? I will use my throat chakra and I will tell them what I think at this point in time. But what I'm not going to do is harm them. I am part of the problem again. So I use my own discernment. I use my own intuition for whatever situation I'm in, because I do realize that I have to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
So that comes from my discernment. So if I know I'm with a group of open, conscious people, I can talk like this. But if I walk into another arena where I absolutely know this is not going to be a group that are open, they're polarized all the way over to another side, I got to find the middle point again, because I don't want to harm them by trying to shove or push something down their throat. I don't want them to try to shove or push their agenda down my throat.
Mm-hmm.
If that starts to happen, I can find a friendly, calm, peaceful way to leave, to do no harm again.
Right.
So for me, what do we do? Use your discernment. Don't polarize. Take care of all four of your bodies. Take your empowerment back, and you can do that in a safe and effective way. I think that's enough. I think I got 4 areas there that anybody could really be working in, that doesn't make them a problem on the 3D realm, and it only helps themselves and everybody else to kind of keep moving ahead. And I do realize a lot of people wouldn't know what we're talking about if we want to talk about 3rd dimension, 4th dimension, 5th, or whatever. I think most people see 3D as something they learn in school in math or science, that things only in a 3-dimensional way, and they haven't gone beyond that. But for those of us that have gone beyond that have gotten into metaphysical studies or physics or esoteric studies, all of that higher knowledge is there. And if you start pulling on that and living it, things look very different. I know I see things very differently than most people. If I'm with a group of people, I know when I'm in a 3D reality. I also know when I'm in a physical 3D reality, but what is going on as far as the energy and the talk and the discussion is in another dimension. So that shows me that I'm progressing, because now something I couldn't have done a few years ago, I can tell the difference. I can see, oh, wait a minute, you don't just leave 3D behind and then all of a sudden you're suddenly in a 4th and suddenly in a 5th. All those dimensions exist. I think there's 13 dimensions that exist on planet Earth. Some of them obviously are invisible to us because we're not vobbing high enough to get there. Our frequency isn't high enough. But as your frequency does move, you do start having these realities where, okay, I'm sitting in my house in Taos and I've got a table, but you and I are not having a 3D discussion, really. We're talking on a much higher plane than 3D. If we were talking 3D, we'd be talking about tennis and food and wine and alcohol and weed. And
exactly. For me, I feel like what started to be a little bit more clear for me recently is in terms of helping people get from maybe 3D thinking to higher dimensional thinking, if that's something you're interested in doing, is like we were talked about on the phone last night, really conquering your fear of anything. Just ask yourself, like, what's the worst case scenario? And even if that ended up happening, is it that bad? And is that like, you really have to conquer fear in terms of like a murderer coming into your house with a knife, or getting the bubonic plague and perishing, or getting it doesn't matter what like a spider coming down and biting you, or a poisonous rattlesnake, water moccasin pulling on your cheek. That was a dream I had one time. It was really very powerful. Like 2 water moccasins both like latched onto my cheek and I was trying to pull them off. Worst fear ever, right? But at the same time, it's like, okay. And then let's assuming 2 water moccasins don't bite you on the cheek. That like let's move forward from that. Like you cannot, like, fear it's not, it's, we live too much as a society in fear. Like there's, really basically the whole concept of, one of my friends told me this, but it's like there's two real emotions and everything falls into one of the, there's love and fear, right? And so if it's a sliding, if this is like your jar and this is what it's capable of holding, and like this is the middle ground, like this is the middle ground. Okay, so we live like 90% in fear and like 10% in love. Yeah. Where you should go like this, or even that, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I mean, you got to be scared of touching a hot stove, because that's just, sucks if you aren't, because then that will hurt your hand and stuff. So you have to have some fear. Fear is serving. It's good in some point, but it is, we do not need to be as scared as we are of everything, and we're taught to be. And so like that's the thing, is like, for me, I think if you really want to get to a higher vibration, whatever that means, really work on questioning everything you're scared about it and going down that rabbit hole with yourself internally.
And that includes, I think for a lot of people, they have a lot of fear about looking at their own dark side. Because we have two sides. We're 3D. We're here on planet Earth. We have our good thoughts and our bad thoughts.
Well, I used to think I was so pious. Like, of course, like, no, we are all everything.
Right. And so I think if you're afraid or fearful of what you've done in the past, and you label yourself, which I think a lot of people have done that, they've lost so much self-confidence in themselves, or they've done things in their past that they're not happy about. And then that just eats away at them. And it builds more fear and more fear and more fear. And when you really start to get real with yourself and honest with yourself and love yourself and say, yeah, I did some things I'm not very proud of. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write them all down. And then I'm going to really look at them and figure out, why did I do that in the first place? And, do I need to go back and say sorry to somebody? Or is it already taken care of and cleaned up? Or is this just a sin against myself, and I can fix this here and now and forgive myself and move on? Even that fear is a huge one for the human population right now. They don't want to go back and have to look at anything that they did that they deem to be bad.
Well, I heard somebody talking recently about how you're like, how we always have this concept of the higher self and a lower self, and like you are the higher self to your lower self as well. Like it's like there's all these ranges, and somebody was also saying, this Lori Laud lady, she was talking about the analogy of invite all of yourselves to dinner. Like you have your highest self and your lowest self, and you guys are all at dinner at this table, and you're not going to throw your homeless mud eating lower self out just because they are who they are, and then only eat with your higher self. Like you're all eating dinner, and like instead of looking at your shadow as in judgment, you can look at it as like, oh, well, that was an interesting choice of an experiment or an experience to have on the planet. Tell me about that. Okay, that's an interesting decision. And then, oh yeah, well, that, like, and I'm sure the decisions you think that you are so high in right now are interesting decisions that other people would that your higher self, even higher than that self, would think. So really got to stop judging ourselves.
Yeah. And I realized years ago that when I gave myself permission, truly gave myself permission to make mistakes, it was the most freeing thing I had ever done in my life, because I took back my power. I took back my responsibility for whatever was going to happen in my life from that day forward. I was completely free to make all the mistakes that I had to make, because I grew up in a pretty strict religious family, and we had some very strict guidelines and expectations of what was supposed to go down. And you don't make mistakes in my family. So I realized when I was doing this a few years ago, the areas I was being held back in, when I really took it apart and analyzed it, I said, oh, this all goes back to, as usual, childhood, where making a mistake was really, really looked down upon. And I went, so that held me back from doing a lot of things, because I knew, well, I've never done this before and I don't know how to do it. And if I do it for the first time, I'm probably going to make a mistake. So I'm not going to do it. So not only did I limit myself there, but I was fearful of going forward and doing something in an area. Well, silly me, of course I'm going to make mistakes. There's, I've never ridden a horse before. How am I expected to get up on a horse and ride and not fall off? I'm using that as an example.
Right.
And it was extremely freeing, because with that thought, I went in and started my fourth business. And up until that point, I kept saying, I'm too old. I can't do another business. I'm a single woman. I don't have any money. I don't want to make a mistake. And I went, oh my God, there it is again. So it was scratch that. And it was like, so I make a mistake, I'll figure it out. I'm a smart, intelligent woman. I'll figure it out. It wasn't a mistake. It was extremely successful because I wanted to do it, and nobody was going to be there to tell me, no, you can't do it. And, you made a mistake. And it was like, I made a mistake. I'm starting a new business. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's going to be okay. So, again, for me, I felt like that was my higher self and my intuition showing me why I was holding myself back in so many areas of my life. Get rid of the fear of making a mistake. Every time you get rid of a fear, you have freedom. Every time you look at that fear, you have even more freedom coming into your life. And then you start using your intuition. And then when you use your intuition, you start using your discernment. And all of a sudden, the mistakes don't seem to be there anymore, because I allowed myself to make them, but now I'm learning from them. And then all of a sudden, my intuition, my discernment, my past experience, it works. And now it's like, I don't need to go down that road. I know exactly what's going to happen. I don't need to do that one anymore. I think I'll take this one over here. And I try to tell that to different women that used to come out here for ceremony. And I would say, what's holding you back? And over and over and over again, I would keep hearing the same thing, which is, I don't want to blow it. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want my husband to be disappointed in me because I tried to do this and it didn't work out. Or someone's going to be there and say, I told you so. How crushing to the soul, so crushing to the soul, to not be able to be creative in whatever way that you want to.
Yeah, I know. I've held myself back a ton with fear of failure, or just
yeah. And we can even translate that to what's going on now, which is let's not go back to where it was. Let's not go back to that old paradigm. Don't be fearful of going forward and trying to create new paradigms, because they're new paradigms. We've not been there yet, because it's our future. We've not been there yet. We're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. When we make that mistake, we learn from it. We go, oh no, we don't need to do that one because we've done it. Let's go this route and go over here. So the only way we can create a new paradigm is knowing there could be some failure in there. There could be mistakes. It's okay. We don't have a blueprint for that future because we're going to make it. We're going to create this new future that we want. And wow, I mean, this is it. There couldn't be more energy in this universe right now. It's palpable. It's saying, do you see that what you've been doing doesn't work anymore? We've outgrown it. Earth has outgrown it. Individuals have outgrown it. Let's bring something in new, which takes us to Atlantis. So I've probably believed in reincarnation for longer than I could tell you it started. So it was probably back in childhood. Always had a fear of huge tidal waves.
Yeah.
Big open bodies of water. Little stuff, no. But the big ones, I mean, it's like I've never gone on a big ship and tried to cross the ocean. So there's a fear in there, and it doesn't relate to anything here in this lifetime. but it's so cellular and it's so deep that I know it comes from something in the past. Well, as I started going through my life, and now, you know, in the last few years, I know what that's all about. And it was definitely that I was on the planet during the time that there was a huge catastrophe, and the ice in the north started to melt and started coming in, and we had polar shifts, we had nuclear explosions, we had all kinds of things happening that were all decisions that were made to misuse power on many, many levels. It was all about the misuse of power, and not just the physical misuse of nuclear power. That was one part of it. But there was a misuse of, again, crimes to humanity all over the place. Political polarization all over the place. My belief in my experience that Lemuria and Atlantis were here at exactly the same time, and they were polarized in what they were doing. Mu was all about developing our interior, and Atlantis was all about developing the interior through exterior expression, big buildings, big construction, big temples. So they were always looking for personal empowerment through what they could build outside, and they were excellent at what they could do. And Lemuria was more about taking care of the planet, using plant medicines, learning from animals, having this sacred viewpoint on everything that was given to us through Mother Earth. And they were as realized.
It was like the feminine versus the masculine brain.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And peaceful versus more warfaring. And one was just okay staying in Lemuria, and the Atlantean civilization went across the entire planet, all the way across. It was a huge civilization. It wasn't just one continent. Mm-hmm. There was a continent that was called Atlantis just through, I think, for historical reasons. For Plato and everybody else, they had to come up with this place that existed, but now it's under the water. But it was so advanced that it went everywhere. And we can see that now. We can see that there are pyramids and very advanced stone structures that we can't build now. They're everywhere. China is filled with pyramids.
All over every continent.
All over every continent. And those are all from the influence of Atlanteans traveling, trading, economic purposes. I mean, they were more advanced than we are now. So we know what kind of a society they must have been living in. But they came to the same point in time that we are right now. We are in exactly the same point that the Atlantis was. So when Atlantis was ready to go, like around 12,000 years ago, they were in the constellation of Leo, and across from Leo is Aquarius. So astrologically, we are now exactly in the same place in opposition to where Atlantis was. So here we are back again. And my feeling is that all 8 billion people that are here on this planet now, we were all here during the time of Atlantis. We were all affected by the decisions that were made for how to use the power or misuse it. And here we are again. The whole planet Earth is being affected by a COVID virus, but it's really not COVID, it's 5G, that could wipe us out. Will we give up our power and say, I'm not really interested in it. Let those guys do it over there, and not question them? There's no white papers. You can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere online and see any kind of white papers that say, oh yeah, this is where we've tested 5G, and this is what has happened to the people we've tested it on. You can't find it anywhere. They're just bringing it out. We know it was created as a weapon by the Israeli military. They used it, they created it, they used it, they proved that they could sit in one place and beam these 5G waves as a weapon and take people out immediately because we're electromagnetic. We can't handle that. Our brain can't handle it. Our physical body, our immune systems deteriorate quickly when that 5G beam is being shot at us. So the correlations are all there. It's like, I feel like I can just see so clearly that when I was in Atlantis, I don't remember what I did. It feels to me like I was fighting against nuclear power. Greece was a colony. Lots of Atlanteans had left Atlantis and were traveling all over the world because they were getting tired of the polarization in Atlantis. So they were saying, I'm tired, I want out of here. I don't know how many times I've just said, I got to get out of America. I got to find another country to live in, and now I can go, it's the same everywhere, Wendy. Everybody is being influenced by this. It's not even about what country. It's now worldwide. So people left Atlantis and they went all over. And because they were so close already to places like Greece and Italy and Egypt, a lot of Atlanteans went and started living in those areas. And those were the colonies of Atlantis, just like England had colonies all over the planet. Atlantis had colonies all over the planet. So I felt like for me, because in past regressions I've had, it is always Atlantis. I've used 5 different regressionists, 3 or 4 different hypnotists, not regressionists, trying to figure out what is this deal with Atlantis for me. It's always the same scenario. It's never any different. Everything that I have in this hypnot, it's the same thing that comes up. And I'm in Greece, and I'm in Congress, and I am fighting against the misuse of nuclear power. And I lost. And I remember I lost. And I remember the deluge. And I remember being swept from under some pillars all the way out. Last thought. So I think, how interesting. So here we are now. That was deluge and purification through water. Well, now our deluge and purification is going to come through fire. And the fire is going to come through 5G because it's electric energy that is so strong that it burns. It burns through the cells. It's going to burn through the body. It's going to put us in a very difficult place to exist. It's going to burn through nature, bees and birds and anything that's in a heavy 5G area, it's going to fry. So now we're using the element of fire to purify, unless we can stop it. So before we couldn't stop it. Now I hope there's enough of us on this planet that will use their throat chakra in the right way and say, we need to demand this 5G. We need to demand that they do up in the open, and everybody gets to read the papers. I don't want to have someone come up on a podium and tell me it's safe. I want the responsibility of going in and saying, I want to read this. I want to see who you tested. Where are the humans that you tested with 5G? I want to talk to the humans and say, so what happened to you? Do you feel the same? What's happened to you? They've never done it. Never. It's coming out as a weapon.
And we do need to start
again.
We do need to start, like, for instance, Elon Musk putting all the satellites in this thing. It's like, well, okay, the US has said that, like free enterprise with space travel or, whatever, like, but at the same time, this is not, our night sky is not a United States matter. This is like a global issue. Like, you can't change the global night sky. That is weird, and for a monetary purpose. It's even if you do, like, it's just, we really have to ask, like, a lot of these technologies are requiring such vast amounts of earthly resources, like the amount of infrastructure that needs to be built for this 5G. And it's just, it's none of it's elected. It's just rolling out while we're staying at home.
Right.
Like, at what point do we have to say, like, hey, no, like, who said you could do that? It's you have to realize it is weird. And it's weird that we are encouraged not to even look at it or question it.
Right. It's being done very silently, very insidiously. It's being done. So, now when I travel, I'm always looking around trying to see these 5G boxes and, are they here in Taos, or are they in Santa Fe, or are they in Albuquerque? I'm always looking around trying to see if I can see these boxes. I don't know if it's true. Lots of people are saying that while kids are out of school, 5G is being put into the school for all the internets. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't tried to research that at all. But we're just here again. We're going over the same scenario that they did in Atlantis, and it's an opportunity to see, did we learn anything in the last 12,000 years, 3D planet Earth? Have we learned anything? Are we going to take this matter into our own hands? Are we going to dismantle our governments? They need to be dismantled because they're really not democratic anymore.
They're not democratic. They're not effective
anymore. Can we
They're
find
not for us?
Can we find a different way of doing things? I think, but maybe it's not part of the new paradigm because we've already done it. But people working collectively in smaller groups always seem to do much better.
They do.
And a state government and a federal government, it's always bringing it down to your own little area because you know best about your area. It's like, okay, so Taos County, so maybe we got 25, 30,000 people. Maybe it's best if we start small and we get to put our rules together about how will the 25,000 of us live happily here in this Taos area. Maybe that's asking too much from people. Maybe they don't care, which is what I think happened back in Atlantis. There weren't enough people on the planet. We got lazy. We've gotten really lazy because we've given up all our power to anybody who says, I'll do it. And everybody goes, oh, great, you do it. And they don't ask any questions. And they don't even know what this person's doing. They don't even ask that person, what are you doing? How are you doing it? Is it going to affect me or anybody else negatively? We don't ask that to our politicians. Well, never. And then we wonder why do we have what we have? Well, most people don't vote for their Congress people, their senators. They go in and put in a vote for president. The president, he's not a dictator. Everything is going through Congress. Everything is passed through Congress. So, we can only blame ourselves for where we're at. And now I want something new. I don't want Atlantis again. I don't want to see that ever happen again on this planet. I think we've risen. We're high enough in consciousness to realize that was a huge mistake. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's why one world order and one global currency, one global language, all these things, ultimately not cool. Like, no. The only, I really like and I really appreciate, and I'm glad that travel amongst free nations is good, because like I've taken advantage of that in my life. Like I do think it's important to go see, visit other continents on the planet, see how other cultures work. So yeah, I definitely think I would love for that free enterprise to continue going. But other than that, I think that smaller countries are more effective at keeping, people need to be way more localized with our food sources. You don't need to be living in, Canada eating a mango in January. Like it's not, I mean, it should be, things need to be more localized. Like our carbon footprint of our everyday food and our materialization needs to be, like, the encouragement of our materialization needs to be, hey, let's get this in check. That's a personal thing, though. I don't think there needs to be any kind of governmental force that enforces anything of that on us. But we really need to start looking at what should be federal, what should be like something that's that is a main governmental agency that oversees stuff. And for me, the only thing I can think that needs to be federally maintained, in my opinion, is our roads, our infrastructure, our systems that connect each other, like our travel things. Other than that, I think a little bit more, let's just be little tribes.
Yeah. If and when we get to a point where all of this hidden technology is released, it is really going to show us what the new paradigm can be. because it's free technology that is being used by secret space programs and the elite. The free, incredibly new medical technology. You know, I shouldn't have to go get a knee replacement. There's already in place lasers that can go in and rebuild my knee as if it was brand new.
You want to see my dream from the night before? Actually, tell me about it, but I'm going to show you my dream before the night before last. So this is this was given to me in a dream, and it's so this is okay. I'll do. This is a magnet that is like, it's shaped like an S, but it's north and then south in the middle, and then north at the top. So it's neodymium, and it's called like a cluster magnet, where within when you're pouring the mold, you can change the filings in the permanent magnet to where basically normal magnets would be like, has a north end and a south end. Or sorry, like, or like a positive and a negative end, but you can change the polarity of it within the actual molding of the structure. So keep that in mind. So it basically, you create this wheel of these S's, and then that's the wheel in the center of this. So these are lasers that point into the magnet that is spinning on the point of a crystal, that then goes down and it matches the frequency of any cell that is not in a line with the other cells around it. Wow. And it basically, it's mixing the, okay, so what it does is it mixes a magnetic strength poles, or like whatever energy is through it mixes electromagnetic energy with LASIK and crystal energy, all three combined to a single point, and make pulsate any given atom into the cell frequency of the healthy cells around it, and mutate it to be fine again. It's regenerative, and it's palliative, and it's diagnostic as well. I mean, it says, of course, it was a crazy dream, but I'm just saying.
I think it sounds like you were probably an old Atlantean scientist that came up.
Oh my God, that's like the 18th time I've heard somebody tell me I was an Atlantean scientist.
I always get that. Came from another planet to Atlantis to bring that technology to Atlantis, and give it to the physicists. Yeah. Well, but so I think, you know, again, if we can clean up this cabal and clean up these horrid evil forces that are here,
because we need to, and the thing is like every time
they're already there. They're already there.
I have so many, and that's just 2 nights ago. But a month ago, I got shown like how we fly within the ions in the air, like basically like how bug wings work. I got shown like the fabric, like there's fabric that they wear, that they fly. That's how they're flying. Like the actual suit that they're wearing allows them to, it's got little tiny nanotechnology magnetic cone rods that work back and forth with like your thought waves, create how you want to manipulate the airflow, and you go. I know, and I know it sounds crazy, but I'm saying if it works in a dream, and like they give me detailed instructions, and I'm like, I don't know, you need to go talk to somebody else, and they're like, you need to wake up.
It'll come. It's, you know, you're of the age group that's going to bring in the new paradigm, and I hope I'm of the age group that is going to be there to say, oh, we did that once, it didn't work. Let's move on.
Yeah, but at least there's no power source. You know, there's no, like, it's not, all the things that I see they're not invasive to the planet at all. They're all just like,
you don't have to use oil and coal. No. It's all free.
It's all magnetic, and it all works within the powers that are already on the planet. Like it's a magnetic works with frequencies that are already existing. It's making things work for you instead of manhandling and burning fuel and burning, you know, like destroying something. That's how our current energy works. It like destroys something to take from it.
Right. So, you know, I do want to be positive that end, and just through my own research and years of it in that area, it's there, it's been developed, the space programs have it, the mega corporations have it, it's all kept secret because they need for us to continue to use fossil fuels so that they can make money off of us. But I think and Emery Smith is certainly someone who knows this and has this information and is working very hard to be able to bring these things out, because we're not going to be buying it. This is free. Everybody will be shown how to create this energy within their own homes. That is certainly going to help all of us in a new paradigm. And, this old one size fits all, which we really saw in COVID-19, everybody across the planet is going to shut down that one size fits all, which is such a lazy way to rule.
Yeah.
New Mexico should not be considered to be in the same problem that New York City is.
No.
That one size fits all ruined us. We're the second poorest state, and we only have like
less than 2 million
1.5 million people
Yeah.
here.
And you're I don't know how much times landmass than New York. And New York has like 8 million people living in, the size of, a couple
That
square
proves
miles.
that just that one thing right there, logically, it's fact and it's logic, proves to me that there is something very evil and insidious going on with the people that created that one size fits all, shut everything down, World Health Organization, Dr. Fauci and gang.
Yeah.
That was the plot.
Well,
because all these other doctors are out here and they're just saying, well, we could have handled this so much different if we had just looked at the problem, which is, okay, this state doesn't have any at all. Oh my God, look how many are over here in Italy. Help those people, push all those resources over there, and let us intelligent human beings make a decision for ourselves. I don't need someone to tell me how to protect myself from a virus. I've already had viruses. I've already come out the other end. I've had terrible bad viruses. I never even went to a hospital. I stayed at home. I drank fluids. I stayed in bed. Maybe I took an antihistamine if my nose was stuffy. Lots of vitamin C, lots of herbs. 2 weeks later, I'm up and fine. Yeah. So, I figured, well, if I get COVID, that's what I'm going to do. Same thing I've done for everything else.
Well, that's the thing. Is like, even if you go to the hospital, you only have a 14% chance of living if you get put on a ventilator. 86% of the people that get put on ventilators end up passing away. That's like not a Nikki fact. That's like that multiple points. And right. It's so you're kind of going like, oh, so you could do nothing for my virus until I get to a ventilator. And if I do get on a ventilator, you're telling me that it'll be a miserable 2 weeks with a 14% chance of coming out. Great. That means you guys are super highly effective. No, like you're
right.
We already have a broken medical system. This is highlighting it even more. I don't know.
Yeah. And then
they can't do anything for you if you do get sick. That's basically what it boils down to.
Yeah. But then they do have these medicines, which they've used that have been around forever, like the hydroxychloroquine. When you use it with zinc and a Z-Pak, has cured 100% of the patients that these doctors have used it on. Really cheap, really inexpensive, and their symptoms went away between 4 and 8 days for the really, really sick. But then you got these people that want to come in there and say, oh my God, it was never tested. Oh no, it's wrong. Oh, hydroxychloroquine is
Don't try that at home. Yeah,
what is the word for that? Placebo. It's like, no, it's not. Where did you get that? They used it for malaria. It's no placebo. What are you talking about? These people say the stuff and they do no research. Nothing. I've heard that over and over again. And I said, you got that from the evening news. Someone came on the evening news and said, oh, it's just bullshit. It's just a placebo. Hydroxychloroquine is dangerous. You don't want to use it. Well, they didn't put in the zinc and the Z-Pak. So they figured out that those three together work for this particular virus. So we've got thousands of people that were given this by thousands of doctors because they had it right there in the pharmacy. They said, well, we don't know what else to do. Let's try this. Boom, it worked. And then the next one and the next one and the next one. So many doctor reports. And yet to this day, if you try to talk to Dr. Fauci or Bill Gates or any of these people, they're going to poo-poo it. Oh no, that's not going to work. Oh no, that doesn't work. They will completely ignore the facts that it has worked successfully 100% of the time. They can't get that from what they're doing. They can't get that from a ventilator. Ventilators are not 100% taking care of everybody at all.